Okay, guys, welcome to Dino's Vault and welcome to a celebration moment for all true Pulsar fanboys because parked right behind me or right next to me is the legendary Pulsar 220F in all its matchless glory. Now, when suddenly uh, Bajaj had to pull the plug off the Pulsar 220 just to introduce the 250, well, there were a lot of question marks, questions raised as to will there be a proper replacement for the Pulsar 220 and will there be a legend good enough to match the legacy of the 220F, the fastest Indian, once the fastest Indian. At that point in time it could even give a high capacity bikes a run for their money in the drag races, and that was the specialty. The handling, the acceleration, the brilliance, the speed, everything was special about the 220F. And guess what, it is back in its matchless glory, and simple, subtle, nothing changes, just the legend is back the way it is, because sometimes you don't want to meddle with a success formula which is an absolute blockbuster hit. So similarly, you can see same 20 bhp, around 18.55 newton meters of torque, 220cc single fuel injected motor, and DTSI digital twin spark ignition, and nitrox gas charge shock absorbers at the back, twin shock absorbers. The blacked out exhaust not only looks great, it also sounds great. 120 section tire at the back, 17-inch wheels, tubeless tires at both ends. We get dual disc setup, front and rear, but I think we get only single channel ABS, because usually the speed sensor at the rear is given for all Bajaj motorcycles. And a lot of carbon fiber cues here and there. You can see the carbon fiber cues on the front fender, you can see the carbon fiber cues on the side panel, a little bit of carbon fiber stickering underneath the rear panel, and the carbon fiber cues on the speedo console. Now, there was a little question as to whether they'll launch an OBD2 compliant. Yeah, it is OBD2 compliant, but there was a question as to whether it will be E20 compliant, just like some of the Yamaha motorcycles are that have been recently launched. So the speedo console again remains the same. You have the speedo, the tachometer with the rev needle climbing, odometer, trip meter, and fuel indicator right over there. So that's the clip-ons again are well laid out, offer a good feel, are well put together. Backlit switches, high beam flasher, engine kill switch, a no nonsense performance sport bike that just gives you the thrill and intensity that you come expecting from the brand Pulsar. The muscular tank, a good quality tank pad, and the signature styled LED tail lamp, tail strips, twin LED tail strips. I wish they could have replaced the halogen indicators with the LEDs just to give it a refresh. I don't know, maybe they can do that in the upcoming this thing, but yeah, it looks a little out of place now. The headlamp looks still up to date, dual projector setup, and two pilot lamps as well. I think 41mm front forks to offer good plush ride quality, engine cowl with carbon fiber accents again. So this is the Pulsar 220 back in its amazing, marvelous glory. So I just hope it feels good to ride as well. The quarter fairing, so it is not E20 compliant because there's no E20 sticker on top of it, but it is OBD2 compliant, which means there'll be an onboard diagnostic tool keeping a check on the emissions. So maybe they had pulled the plugs or just temporarily discontinued it to include the OBD tool on board. We don't know, because And the price, again, I'll mention the price on the screen, and in the description portion. You get Euro grip tires now, and these are kind of on-road off-road tires. These are not proper road tires. So anyway, either ways, the 220 enjoys a following unlike any other, not only in the cities but also in the rural areas. So that is great news for all of us 220 fanboys who were a little depressed that a little too soon the 220 had to go off the market. But then it is back with a bang, and I'm sure it is here to stay, because it was sending the cash registers ringing still and outselling the 200NS still to date, even when it was discontinued. So I think it's about time that the company listened to the masses and brought back their hero. The hero of the masses is back, and it's gonna really send the cash registers ringing all over again. So that's pretty much it. Let's go for a ride now, because that's where the fun truly is. Okay guys, now the ride impression of the new 2023 Pulsar 220F. Now, has anything changed? Yes, there's a bit of refinement. Yes, there's a bit of better pickup right off the mark. That's because of the oxygen sensor on board, and some of the tweaks that have been done for the OBD2 compliance. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it does feel peppy, it does feel responsive. There's some kind of noise coming out of the engine, but I can give it the benefit of the doubt because it's a brand new bike, and maybe some teething issues. But anyway, the pickup and the response and the stability handling is right on point, just like what we've experienced from the fastest Indian from the yesteryears. And yeah, this is kind of a voiceover I'm doing yet again after doing the motovlog, because the GoPro failed me one more time, which is not a surprise. So yeah, talking about the bike, seating comfort, ergonomics, spot on for daily usage, city commutes, for rural rides. Now you get on-road off-road tires as well, because a lot of fan following in the rural areas as well. But now the township areas, now we all have township areas. The rural era is gone, and now what is interesting is the kind of demand, the kind of popularity, the kind of response this has gotten. The moment people understood that this was discontinued, there's been a wave of demand or requests to bring it back in the market, and that talks about the kind of following the Pulsar 220 has now. There's no replacement for the original, is what people say. Like, say for instance, some blockbuster movie like Sholay or Titanic or Bahubali, you can't imagine someone else in Bahubali's role. Similarly, you can't imagine someone else in Sir Amitabh Bachchan's role in Sholay. Similarly, you can't imagine a replacement for 220F. Now it is distinct, unique, different by design and concept. So that doesn't change. So you can't really try to make do or try to find substitute for a 220F or a legend like Michael Keaton's Batman, that has its own place in the legendary DC universe. Similarly, the Pulsar 220F or Chadwick Boseman's the Black Panther. I don't think you can imagine anyone else playing Black Panther better than Chadwick Boseman. Or Heath Ledger's Joker. So this is just a few relations or kind of citations of what you can expect of the 220F, because that's a legend. Pulsar 180 is a legend. The Pulsar brand itself is a legend, but the 220 was something that took it to another level altogether. Be it the stunting, be it the drag racing, it was all a complete package. And for people in the 90s or the 90s kids who grew up in the millennial era, for them the 220F was the only sport bike they could dream of. And then now we have a complete invasion of premium brands from abroad. But back then we had the 180, the 200 and the 220, and so glad that they brought the 220 back. That talks about Bajaj listening or heeding to people's requests or the fan requests, and that talks about the company ready to being listen to their customers. And that has always been the case. Bajaj has always listened to their customers, trying to better their fit and finish, better the quality, better the engines with every possible listing or release of a new lot. So that doesn't change. So everything else remains the same. Refinement is great, response is good, and so glad that the legend is back in the market. And would you prefer this over the 250 twins? Feel free to comment below and let me know. And I'm sure the company is equally interested to know that. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless and ride safe.